Happy new moon to everyone out there. Kashmiri, I just started the video and sure enough, she's just running amok. I'm going to be doing the new moon forecast for today, which is January 22nd. I had to look. January 22nd, 2003. And this is going to run us all the way into February 20th. Before I give you the new moon forecast, I have to give you the Abby forecast, which is, I did all of my new moon cleaning yesterday. It's like 7 to 8 hours of just scrubbing and purging things. So I'm a little dumb. I'm a little tired today. Not gonna lie to you. That will be a recurring theme on all of these, I'm sure, because I make these videos on Sunday and Saturday. Kashmiri. Saturday is usually a busy day for me. Very physically intensive. Right, here we are. It's dark outside. We do have this at the Giza Plateau at the time of the new moon this month. Last month we did it, the Babylonians and the Egyptians would have done it, which is with the first visible crescent moon rising. But today we are going to do it at the actual time of the new moon, which in this case would have been 10:53 p.m. yesterday, so January 21st, if we are using the coordinates for the Giza pyramids. Today we're going to take a snapshot of what was going on at the time of the new moon, and we're going to use that for a very general forecast for the entire world at large. Please keep this in mind. How these things affect you on a personal level is going to depend on what's going on in your individual natal chart. So extremely general. If you don't already know, I'm using some astronomy software. This is Stellarium. You can download it for free at stellarium.org. It is open source and regularly updated, and it's awesome. It's really great. So I definitely recommend checking that out as opposed to just looking at astrology software. And while I'm doing this, you will be learning many of the secrets of how I do my astrology readings and how I make predictions and so on and so forth. First things first, the moon is right smack in the middle of Sagittarius and Capricorn. So we're going to have a lot of these dominant energies over here. Same thing with the sun. It's, as you can see, much closer to Capricorn, but we're still going to be pulling in a lot of these Sagittarius energies anyways. And we're going to see this overlapping over here with this Venus-Saturn conjunction, which is not a superior conjunction, but it is a very close conjunction, which is Kashmiri. Are you done? It's a close conjunction, and I think it peaks today. Really? You guys, oh, now Cosmos is playing with her too. Okay. As you can see, it's pretty close. It's going to look really awesome in the evening sky. You can get out and check that out. Probably my video will be out by then. Not that it matters, because like 20 people are going to watch this video. So for all 20 of you that watch this video, here's your reminder. Go out and see if you can see this on the horizon. Today is a 3 coffee day. I'm on my 3rd coffee. So we'll be heading out to get a latte here soon. So actually it's like a 5 or a 6 coffee day. When we're looking at the month, we really just want to focus on what's going on with the moon. At the time of the new moon, we've got this very dominant Sagittarius energy. For those of you who don't know, Sagittarius was originally Pablo, and he was the chief ancestor. With his association right up here, and this is going to go for Scorpio too, right up around the galactic center, we're going to have very natural intuition. This is very paternal energy. I would say the Scorpio energy is very maternal. And so we have this parental energy going up in here. In many cases, the Sagittarius energy is going to relate to our material world responsibilities and taking care of our families. And in a lot of cases, we do that through our careers. So this is very strong career energy on top of the paternal energy. And we're going to be pulling that over here. So you're not supposed to be jumping around. She just got spayed the day before yesterday. She's supposed to be, well, they had her wear this, looks like a little kitty straitjacket, but she wasn't having that. She was walking backwards all day and she kept getting stuck in places. So I just took it off of her and we're just keeping an eye on it. They don't do this kitty straitjacket thing in America, so I don't know what's going on. So we're going to be pulling in a lot of this responsible energy. This is a taking care of business type of energy. If you have the inclination to learn anything about your career path, if you want to take any courses or do anything to further develop your skill set as far as your career goes, this is definitely a favorable time to do that. What with Mercury being right over here, which right around this area would have been the head of Pablo. If we're looking at the group in general, this could make us maybe a little bit overly concerned this month with our career, our path, how we are moving forward in achieving our goals. We don't want to get too sucked into it. If you're already an analytical person, this can make you a hyper analyzer during this time. Again, it's going to relate more towards the career side of the spectrum. So still try to take it easy. Don't go overboard, but we're going to get a lot of that. Over here, now we have this Capricorn energy. And I probably already talked about this in some of the other videos. Sorry if some of this is repetitive. Whenever you're learning something, it's always good to repeat until it just becomes second nature. So hopefully it's not too annoying having to hear me repeat these things all of the time. But this Capricorn energy is extremely maternal, extremely nurturing, very affectionate, very loving, self-sacrificing, devoted. This is all just resonating here. And with the sun's placement here, it's going to intensify all of those energies for everyone. When we're also looking at maternal energy, this too is maternal. I would say this is a little bit more of mother and infant type of parental energy, where the focus really goes on nurturing the tiny little baby. This type of nurturing energy can be directed towards anything that you care about, anything that you love, whether those are actual family members, loved ones, romantic partners, or if these are projects that you have. In many cases, people put all this time and attention into their career. So this whole portion of the sky, we have very strong career connotations. Now, when we're doing a forecast for the month, yes, we want to look at the moon, and the moon is going to be our snapshot. But on a much more individual level, we're looking at the moon as the self, and the sun is more of the outside world, or the universal state, where the moon is time, the sun is space. And so there's this internal and external give and take that comes together on the new moon. This is a different conversation. I would like to make a video about it at some other point in time, why I believe the new moon is a much better time to start the lunar month if you're on a lunar calendar. I know in a lot of cultures they do use the new moon. In India and in Hinduism, obviously, there are some people use the new moon, some people use the full moon. But I'll have that conversation another day. But one of the reasons I believe the new moon is a much better way to reckon the beginning of the month is because we have this very nice conjunction or alignment with the sun and the moon, which is kind of why we can't see the moon and why it becomes dark, because you can't see it. You just can't. That's a different video. I don't have the software to make that video, just so you know. So you're going to have to dig somewhere on the internet and see what's actually happening and why the moon goes dark, if you don't already know. Although I suspect the 10 people who watch my videos probably already know why the moon is dark and why it becomes full and so on and so forth. Before I talk about Venus and Saturn and this very wonderful conjunction that we have between them today, and generally over this energy is like imprinting over the month overall. So we're gonna feel this throughout the month, even though it's just a couple day thing. First, let's talk about this Aquarius energy. The current associations of Aquarius are actually very close to the original meanings of the constellation. Here we are looking at Enki energy. This is the god of knowledge and wisdom and culture and craftsmanship and all of the civilized things, the artistic things that separate us from most of our brothers and sisters in the plant and animal kingdom. So we're looking at innovation, refined craftsmanship, artistry. It's very likely that this individual originally had 2 jars of water that he or she was pouring out, representing the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. However, in the earliest known depiction that we have, this was in all likelihood a female. This is really interesting, because these same traits would have been represented in this female deity associated with rivers. There is another female deity, if you're not familiar with her, Ma Saraswati. In Hinduism, she is the goddess of knowledge and wisdom and music and just all of these wonderful things that I was already telling you about in the form of Aquarius. So we do have both masculine and feminine energy wrapped up in here, but this is very much the tribal elder of the zodiac, the wise person, the refined, knowledgeable teacher who takes all of their experiences and knowledge and passes it on to the next generation. As you can see here, we are getting a lot of this overlap between the Aquarius energy and the Capricorn energy as it relates to Venus and Saturn. When the planet moves into one of these constellations, it's kind of taking its own resonant energy and it's illuminating that constellation and bringing it to life the same way maybe our chakras come into our body, or they light up, however you want to say it, and they're just bringing everything to life. They're animating it with their energy. Venus, depending on what's going on, where it's at in the sky, in some cases is very masculine and other times it's very feminine. We are looking at Ishtar or Nana, the goddess of love, beauty, fertility, sexuality, and war. I see very strong Ma Durga energy here. At the core, we have this loving mother who is capable of becoming very ferocious and handling some things, we'll just say. So this is all very strong Venus energy. Venus's placement in Capricorn allows us to devote ourselves to the things that we care about, the people we care about, our passions, our loved ones, in a much more selfless way. Some of this can result in being emotionally drained, namely because we're going to give much more than we end up having. Now, the reward that we get from them, that emotionally, should be much more intense, but it can be very draining. So take very good care of yourself physically. Make sure that you are resting this month, hydrating, nurture yourself. You want to nurture yourself the same way you would a tiny little baby. Make sure you're getting all the sleep, all of the nutrients that you possibly need. This is especially true if in your career path in particular, or I guess in your personal life, in your hobbies, but namely in the career side. Kashmiri, just don't. If your path has anything to do with this knowledge and wisdom, refined classical artistry, if you have like a very technical career or very intellectual in the medical space, IT space, so our scientists, yes, we all fall into this category too. I say we, like I'm a scientist, but everybody in that knowledgeable, tribal, wise person capacity, we're going to have a lot to give in those areas. The reason I'm saying that this is much more to do with the career side is because of this placement of Saturn, obviously right here. Kashmiri, please just take a break. Saturn was in ancient times seen as a planet of the sun. It was seen as like having a tiny little sun floating around off in the distance. And in many respects, it does relate to the sun. This is very strong Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius did not have anything really to do with Jupiter prior to the invention of the Greek planetary rulership system. Prior to that was all very strong Saturn energy. But anyways, Saturn is very much this paternal societal path energy, and it shows us where our path is moving. So in here with both of these, we can see this paternal career energy is illuminating these constellations right smack in the middle, just getting both of the overlap. So again, this is why I'm saying all of this love and attention and devotion that you're going to be pouring in, probably more than you need to be, that is healthy for you, maybe a little obsessive this month, is affecting your career. And this is probably where you're more likely to put it into it. Now, if you are independently wealthy, or maybe even you're retired, and you can just focus on your causes that you are concerned with, so any charities or volunteer work or anything, this is going to relate to that too. Any fathers out there, you're probably going to be putting in a little bit more extra energy than you otherwise would. If you have strong Sagittarius in your chart, I say strong Sagittarius because it depends on the placement of all the planets and what's going on with your ascendant and everything. But if you have strong Sagittarius in your chart, you're definitely going to be pushing yourself maybe a little bit too hard now. You will feel emotionally much better about it because you're going to be in love with what you're doing this month, but it's very likely to drain you. So please just take very good care of yourself. Jupiter is still hanging out right here between originally what was the swallow and the tail end of Tiamat, which was this constellation here was Tiamat. She was the primordial mother. And this was the fish in the swallow, the sacred animals of Anunnatun, and in some cases Anunnatun herself. And she was the goddess of altruism, generosity, in many cases, magic, sorcery, occult knowledge, psychic ability. With Jupiter here, those of you out there in karmic relationships or trying to find your soulmate or your twin flame, while Jupiter is occupying this space, which is going to be occupying it for quite some time, this is a very favorable time to find that person. Your much more likely to attract one of these karmic relationships into your life right now. And this goes for all of us. It's just that time. We're all getting a little bit of this to some extent. Also, if you do any type of travel or creative work, this is likely stemming from some deep karmic place or a spiritual place. So your creative works are likely to be much more spiritual in nature. And the places that you travel to are more likely to be places that you have karmic connections to. That's where you're going to be drawn to. So you're more likely to travel there during that time. We still have Mars right here in Taurus. Taurus was originally Gugalana. As far as we know, he was not stubborn. He was not materialistic. He was a servant. He was, in many respects, very obedient. This placement of Mars here, which is a very vulnerable planet, in some cases it's more masculine, but it does have that feminine side to it as well. This placement does make us much more sensitive. We're more likely to get our feelings hurt. This is not a good thing for society at large because we're more likely to have miscommunications or maybe misinterpretations of what people are presenting to us. So we're looking at geopolitics, for example. This is kind of the type of placement that could get the world into trouble via incorrect assessments. Now, if in your natal chart, your Mars is in Taurus, this is a good placement for you because Mars is going to show you the type of person who needs to come into the picture for you to be a little bit more vulnerable. And this placement is more likely to bring that person into the picture for you and help you align with some of what's going on. So what you're going to experience in some sense is a sort of Mars return. And this is going to reset your personal individual intimacy clock, which can be a really, really good thing when we have a new relationship coming in. I didn't mention it down here when we were talking about this, but pay very close attention to your new relationships. If you get into a new relationship during this time, or even if you're in a relationship and you're kind of starting over, this is probably a very karmic relationship, a very fateful relationship. And I say relationship, I'm not talking about you were on Tinder and you went on a couple of dates. That's not the same thing as being in the relationship. We're talking about very real and tangible interpersonal connection. On a personal level, this type of conjunction between Saturn and Venus can bring you that new job that you were looking for. If you have been waiting on a career change, this is probably the time to do it. But I will warn you, you must choose the job or the career path or whatever, make the decision that will yield the most emotionally fulfilling results. If you do not do that, you are likely to fall into disaster. So this is not the time to choose the job that makes you more money or puts you in a better geographic location that maybe you think is better. You must choose the thing that you absolutely love and adore. This is also not the time to neglect your parental responsibilities or societal responsibilities. The universe here, the cosmos, the solar system is trying to get you to focus on your career path. If you don't do that, it's probably going to set you back a little bit. You're going to have to do this again later. It's going to just be hard. You're going to be going against the current. So here in Russia, people take entire months off for work because they're guaranteed a month off of work every year. I realize in the United States, it's not an option for most people, but just let's use people here as an example. This would not be the time to take off unless somehow you take that time and you use it as a sort of reset to focus on your career goals. An example would be, I'm going to take this time off from work. I'm going to go to Thailand and I'm going to sit on a beach. And while I'm there, I'm going to think about how I can make this a regular part of my life. So I don't just get to do it once a year. I'm going to do it whenever I want. That type of taking time off to reassess your life goals and your plans and your ambitions, that will be phenomenal. This is a great time to do that. If we're just recklessly avoiding work and responsibilities, not a good time for that. And obviously this applies to more things than just career. It's just easy to explain it using the career example. On a geopolitical level, this conjunction is most likely to result in some pretty intense interaction between very sensitive and very dedicated groups. Obviously, it does affect the entire planet is the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. As someone who lives in Russia, who has a military background and closely follows geopolitics, I can assure you that Russia is not going to stop until all of their demands are met. And we can see that very dedicated, very paternal, serious energy reflected in Saturn. We also have a much more vulnerable Ukraine, which is also very dedicated, but also is being propped up by outside countries and nations, and in all likelihood would have lost this conflict months ago were they not being funded by these other powers, who, by the way, if I can insert my opinion in here, don't care about the Ukrainian people in the least. Otherwise, they would not continue to use them as cannon fodder for their proxy war, but that's another conversation. So feel free to comment. I love all of the comments. I love the angry comments. I love the happy comments. I love them all. I love them all. YouTube is the only social media platform that I use anymore. And it is just great to talk to strangers on the internet with very strong opinions. I love it. I adore it. As I was saying, this in many respects, and you can equate this into your personal life too. If you have someone in your life who's kind of like the Saturn energy, and maybe you're more of the Venus energy, we are looking at kind of a coming together, which could be really great or really bad, just as depending on the current circumstances that you're already dealing with. This could be a coming together of a loving relationship with that perfect partner. Again, you're going to have to check your natal chart for that and your partner's natal chart. Or it could be a conflict that eventually results in, it being the beginning of the end. So if these energies were already incongruent with each other, then this is the thing that is likely to push them apart. So pay very, very close attention to what's going on here in both your personal life. And if you want, I don't necessarily recommend it because a lot of the geopolitical stuff totally out of your hands. I mean, there's nothing you can do except get sucked into watching the news and then buy the things that the commercials tell you to buy. And that's like that's the whole racket. Anyways, I keep trying to tell you, and I keep failing to tell you because I keep derailing. This convergence here of these two energies is likely to be a turning point in this greater conflict. I would especially watch and see what's happening right now as of literally yesterday, today, and the next day. However, this energy is going to be dominant throughout the month. It should be the most intense this week, but again, we're going to be feeling it. So something very important is going to be happening in this situation. I don't have any inside knowledge. I literally do astrology readings and I just work all the time. Like, I don't know, like, I don't have the insight. I don't watch the Russian news. I don't watch the American news. I don't know what's going on with all, those things. If you're thinking I'm over here, like with all this insider knowledge, I'm not, definitely. But if you are of the opinion that we as individuals can influence the external world, then this is a good time to pray for peace, and both in your internal personal life and in the world at large. If you have any questions about any of these things, go ahead and stick them in the comments. If you are interested in seeing what your individual natal chart says about you according to ancient astrology, or if you want to see what this month or even this year have in store for you based on what's going on in your natal chart, feel free to contact me. I will put my contact information in the description. I'm also going to put a promo code in there if you want to take advantage of that. Otherwise, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps when you do that. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, and please tell me what you thought about this or anything. Go ahead and stick that in the comments down there. Even if all you say is, Abby, you're an idiot, you're the dumbest person I've ever seen on YouTube, I would be happy if you stick that right in the comments. You can even stick a little emoji, whatever you want. I would really appreciate that. Otherwise, I will be back next week with a brand new video, probably Sunday. It's probably going to be on Sundays. So be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be notified as soon as that video posts. And otherwise, I will see you next week and have an amazing month.